Hello, my name is David Harris, and welcome to our podcast. Today, I'm with Dan Brookes of Intel. We're going to talk a little bit about kiosks. So, my name is David Harris. I manage Lenovo's OEM Portfolio and Solutions group. And Dan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, David. Great to be here. I'm Dan Brookes. I look after Intel's digital signage business worldwide, and also look very closely at kiosk and point of sale for our consumer industries group. So we are focused very much on edge devices, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Very good. I've been so excited about this conversation. Why don't we talk a little bit about how Lenovo and Intel work together for these types of applications?
So Intel is a component, right? We're a chip. And we need our key partners like Lenovo to go to market to showcase the value of that chip. And so where we work very closely is looking at use cases, looking at markets to see what's needed and how can we fill a gap or how can we go and grow a market together. Because Intel can't do it alone. It needs key partners like Lenovo to go and open up that opportunity.
For sure. And with Lenovo OEM Solutions, we also find partners to help bring these things to life, right? And allow other people to be really, really creative about creating things that will be really exciting in the kiosk space.
Yeah, absolutely. And technology it's so big at the moment and so much of a focus that not one company can go and do it alone. It's all about partnerships and finding the right partners and seeing how you can open up those opportunities as an ecosystem, not just I'm going to win everything, which is just not possible in today's world.
Very well said. Why don't we start with some kiosk basics, right? What is a kiosk? Is it one of those things where I know it when I see it? How would you define it?
Oh, absolutely. It's kiosk has evolved so much over the last, 20, 30 years. Back in the day, you might see them at a train station and you'd need a push button next to the icon to then get your ticket. And over the time, it's really evolved really nicely. And I think McDonald's were one of the first to really tap into that of how do you exploit a kiosk. And when they looked at it, they were like, we have lines behind our traditional point of sale. How do we get more people to order? Because one of the things that they found was people don't like to wait in line. And if there's 2 or 3 people in line, they will just move to the next restaurant. But if they've ordered, they'll wait for 10 minutes for their food. So how could they get more order points in? And so kiosk enabled them to really showcase that, because a McDonald's menu isn't just 5 items, right? It's complex. So, and the way that they put things together, and you with a kiosk, as the mobile phone had really gone to touchscreen, consumers were now comfortable with touching a screen and going into a user interface to sort of select what they want. And so that really enabled them to create a really nice touch application that could let the consumer really get to what they wanted. And so I think it's really opened up that opportunity. So a kiosk, I would say traditionally was all about an additional payment device, but it's really now morphed into information as well as additional service area to really sort of open up areas where traditionally you wouldn't have had a technology. You can now use that to do end of aisle, I've got a really small store close to me that doesn't stock everything within the store's portfolio. The kiosk allows me to go in there and select something that I know that company sells. I can then have it delivered to my local store for free or to my home for a cost. But it opens up that whole range that I can go and do. So it really able to showcase so many different things, and it's so flexible that I think now we're really seeing that kiosks go into that next gear. And for Intel, we see the growth for kiosks over the next 5 years of being over 15%. And that's because it's now people are thinking differently about a kiosk. One day it was a ticket machine. Now it's a super device that can do all sorts of services and add value to the consumer.
It manages the experience for some customers inside of retail locations, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one thing that people have to remember when they're developing their kiosk applications, right? Is it's got to have value for everyone in that engagement, right? If it's just creating efficiency for the retailer and getting rid of a job and all those negative connotations, consumers are not going to buy into it. If it allows them to get something from that interaction, then they tend to use it more. And what you tend to see with, using McDonald's as another example, you can now customize your burger, which you could, if you tried to do with a human, chances are, would you get what you ordered? I don't want gherkins on my burger. There's still a 50% chance you're going to get gherkins. With a kiosk, you can then go in and take off the sauce, add additional bacon, add the cheese. You can make what you want. So it's really giving that value back to the consumer that actually I can get what I want. So I think having that relationship is key. It's got to provide the efficiencies for the organization, but also add value to the consumer journey.
Absolutely. You mentioned the industry growing 15% that you were saying, right? What is actually the size? Not maybe for those retailers who are deploying it, but what's the size of the market for those providing kiosk functionality to the retail market?
It's such a hard one to really grasp because it's such a different way to calculate the market. We use lots of different market research companies and they all count kiosks slightly different. Someone will include it into the point of sale data sets, and some people will have it separately. And then you have all the different verticals for transportation, retail, medical. There's so many ways so I don't think we even need Intel knows how big the market is. But for us, we're really seeing the momentum there and that people are now sort of coming to us and Lenovo to say, hey, what have you got to fit this application? And I think the great thing about the Lenovo OEM devices is you've got something for each part of the market.
For sure.
And you've got different form factors that can fit into different shaped kiosks, from the really nice, super slim ones to, really big sort of industrial type ones. You've got the device to then go and fit that.
That's right. One of the differences with the devices, right, and apart from size, right, is performance. So talk a little bit about what performance thoughts there are when people go to select what they're looking for in a kiosk.
Yeah, so one of the main things that we see about performance is really when you're going into a retail environment, it's going to be in that retail environment for a long time.
For sure.
Right? As much as you and I would both love retailers to refresh every year or every 2 years, the reality is that within retail, you're talking between a 5 and a 10-year refresh cycle. And, some of those retailers really like to sweat that asset. And so because of that, we're seeing that performance plays a really key part of that decision making, right? When you buy that, you might have 2,000 stores. By the time you've installed at the first store to the last store, that might be a 2-3 year cycle.
Sure.
And so what you want to make sure is that if you've got some new functionality to attract consumers, maybe you want to play video while the kiosk is inactive, you don't want to have to say, oh, well, we can only play this nice advert that we've got on half of our kiosks, right? Because half the kiosks are the new version and half are the old version. What we want to do is we want to create something that's close to our brand and our brand recognition, and it has to be the same in all of our stores. So what we see is performance is key to that. They may not need all of that performance on day one, but in 3-4 years' time, they may need that extra headroom to enable them to add new functionality, add a spinning burger into the kiosk for restaurants, add a video, add other areas, or even start to look at things like how do you add AI functionality and analytics. The more technology moves so quickly that if you just limit yourself on technology at the start of that journey, you're going to handicap yourself further down the line.
Right. So we've touched on it a couple of times, right? You mentioned kind of where we've gone, where we've been with kiosks, and maybe where we're going in a roundabout way. So as we wrap here, talk about the Kiosk of Tomorrow. What do you envision these devices with software partners and other partners? What are these going to do? How are they going to help our daily lives? What do you envision in retail?
So I think Where we see it really being important, especially in economies where wages are going up and up, right? Kiosks can really add value into your store, right? And when you start to look at where AI can then be part of that journey, we're starting to see things like the AI assistants that people are becoming more comfortable with on their mobile phone.
Sure.
It's almost similar, like that's the acceptance route. And then when it gets to retail, they're like not scared anymore, right? Because they've used it in their pockets. And we think that that will be another sort of growth engine of how do you then use that as a way to communicate and find out information, especially with big stores, right? You think of your big Home Depots and Walmarts, and they sell everything, right? Where do you go find those products that you need, or what you need advice? What size screw do I need? Traditionally you would have had people that were in the store that could help you.
Aisles.
Yeah, but now the organizations don't have that luxury, right, to have people just wandering around the store helping people. Kiosks can be a really good way to enable that and sell up and sell, hey, well, if you're buying these screws, have you thought about these fixings as well? Because these go with these. So, how do you then make sure that the customer goes, oh, yeah, that's really, I needed those. And you've actually saved me 2 journeys because I would have got home and then I've gone, oh, no, I need the fixings and I've got to go back to the store. So it's things like that where we see like AI being a really positive feature. Then also sort of making it hyper localized as well. How can you, there's no point in you advertising a burger on the menu if you haven't got that pate.
That's exactly right.
So how can you make sure that you're checking in with inventory and then changing the kiosk in real time to display products that you have? Or maybe you've got products that are going out of date and you want to promote them, or you haven't sold any for 2 weeks. You can use kiosks to really sort of put that to the front. And there's a lot of evidence that says, that spinning burger example I gave, people do react to that, right? One of my partners were doing vending machines. They in Europe, for vending machines, you have to have a certain amount of healthy products. What they found was no one buys the healthy products, because when you go to a vending machine, you're looking for that sugar hit, right? But what they did was that they then made the healthy products spin, and they sold out within 2 weeks, because it attracts attention and people go, oh, what's that? Oh, that's interesting. And so they select it because it's human nature to,
gravitate towards what's moving. And
exactly. So there's things like that, as the kiosk user interfaces evolve, that will make them more interesting. Voice is another application. We're becoming more. I remember going to trade shows years ago and seeing everyone try to plug Alexa into
everything.
Things. Yeah, everything. But at the time, the consumer wasn't ready for that, right? But now we're all used to shouting Alexa or Siri or whatever it might be to our phones or to the device in the room. So now actually talking to something is become a more natural way of communicating, right? It is as us for humans. So why not talk to a computer that way rather than trying to type it out? And so we're seeing voice becoming really interesting for kiosks, and because it's becoming more natural. It's not 2 years ago, there might be a 2-second delay. And actually, did it understand? Do I say it again? Whereas now it's becoming straight back at you. So you know that it's got you. Hopefully it gets the right context.
Absolutely. Well, this has been fantastic. I'm really excited about the future of kiosks for sure. And I'm really excited about the future of Lenovo, OEM Solutions, and Intel working together.
Lenovo.